Welcome to Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. We're very pleased here at KCHF TV and Issues and Answers to present you candidates, even if you want to see them or not. Some of us are full of the candidates on the national level. Of course, for president, we see commercials and debates and discussions and arguments left and right. Well, here on this program, we're bringing you more local candidates, and we're so pleased to invite those Senate candidates who have opposition and who are touching parts of Bernalillo County to be on the program. We apologize, we can't invite all the state senators from across the state because we don't have enough airtime, but we're very pleased that those invitations went out to the state senators who represent parts of Bernalillo, and those who accepted are on our program. And I'm very happy today to introduce you to a candidate who is running for an open seat in District 19. That's basically on the east side of the mountains here in Albuquerque, here in Bernalillo County, and he is a retired veteran with 22 years in the Army, but also a very unique candidate running for office because his occupation is something we'd all kind of like to do. He's a stay-at-home dad. We are going to meet William Burton Scott after this break, and again, what a contrast. He's very complicated. I read all about him, and wow, he does a lot of different things. We're going to meet him right after this. Stay with us. Okay, we hope you're laughing at home with us. My guest today is laughing because, of course, he's proud to be a stay-at-home dad, but he also said, and these are his words, that he loved being a G.I. Joe as a kid, but also a geek as a kid. So I said complicated. Actually, my guest, William Burton Scott, is a varied man, varied. And you said you're as New Mexican as green chili. Welcome
Absolutely.
to the program.
Thank you for having me.
You're known as, well, William Burton Scott on the ballot,
Yes.
but people know you as
Bill.
Hi.
Yes.
Hi, Bill. But we'll say William Burton Scott on the program.
Right.
Okay, District 19. Interesting background. 22 years as a vet. Sincere thank you.
You're
From
welcome.
me, from the station, for your dedication to our country and to serving. It just touches all of our hearts, so we appreciate that. And touches our heart that you are a stay-at-home dad with a 2-year-old and a 13-year-old.
Yes.
Bless your heart for that. As you said, one of the hardest jobs, most rewarding, but
Yes.
hard job.
Absolutely.
Tell us about yourself, please.
Well, as you said, I'm William Burton Scott. I go by Bill, so you can see me around as Bill Scott. I introduce everybody. And for the last 22 years, I've been in the Army. I came in enlisted and worked my way up to rank to the major before I retired. I've done a different variety. I've been a Cav Scout as well as a military intelligence officer, and I finally did a career field designation to a foreign area officer, which is being an expert in my region, which was Latin America.
So within the Army, you were a foreign
Area officer. Yes.
Now, were you deployed
Yes.
in Latin America? Or where have you worked as an Army?
I've deployed to Iraq twice, and I have been stationed in Latin America in El Salvador. I also did some work in Africa as well.
Wow. Would you characterize your life as exciting?
I would characterize myself as a world traveler, and it has been exciting. I do admit there's been times of great excitement.
But deployed twice to
Yeah.
Afghanistan.
No, Iraq.
Or Iraq. Oh,
Yes.
just Iraq.
Yes.
Just that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that experience, that service.
It was it was interesting. I've done 2 deployments. One of the deployments I served on the military transition team, which was to train the Iraqi army to basically
Defend themselves.
do
Yeah.
the engagements themselves without U.S.
Yeah.
forces. Yes,
That's a good idea.
it was our exit strategy, and well, it must have worked because we're out of the Iraq now. But
No. As of today, as we're taping this program?
Yes, it was a long, hard slog. It really was, and it felt frustrating. Like, we weren't really accomplishing the mission, but we actually did, and it's.
And what did you actually? William? What did you actually do there?
With myself, well, like I said, I was deployed twice. The first time I was in the transition team. The second time I was with the aviation unit providing intelligence, where it was just making sure that the pilots and where they flew were safe and weren't getting shot down.
Just a little bit of a responsibility there.
Oh, just a little.
22 years, retired as a major.
Yes.
And did you choose Latin America as your then expertise area?
Actually, the Army chose Latin America for me. There was a list of places to go. Chose Europe as well as some other Southeast Asia and China. But they looked at my background and saw that I knew Spanish and I had lived in Latin America as a kid, and they said, no, you're going to be a Latin American expert. That's your expertise. So it actually did fit with me, and I had no complaints.
Traveling all around the world, you wanted to come back to New Mexico. You could have chosen other places.
Yes.
How was that decision?
Well, I grew up in New Mexico. I know New Mexico's sensibility. It's a little different than the rest of all the states. I've traveled to many states, and New Mexico's home. I understand it. There's a lot of comfort there here.
It's nice. We don't like to tell. We don't like to tell too many people about it, right?
Yeah,
stay out. We want it for ourselves.
Yeah, and yes.
Oh, maybe you shouldn't say that, but I'm saying that. You have a master's degree from Vanderbilt University in Latin America Studies. Your passion outside of politics is table games, Star Wars, astrophysics. The truth is, even though you try to come off as a tough military soldier, you're really a what?
I'm a geek. I really am. You know, I love my games. I love them so much. I even make games in my spare time. It drives my wife crazy. It's like, what are you doing? It's like I modify our games, you know, because there's a part of me that's just so strategic, and I want to balance everything out. And you know, it's like so sad. It's like, here I am, a big tough soldier, but I'm a geek.
But in high school, you did a lot of sports,
yes.
plus the music program.
Yes, I did.
That's what I said, varied. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about that experience in high school.
Well, it was good. Actually, in high school, we joked about how by being in chorus, I was getting breath control to run and win in track and field. So there was a correlation.
But you still love the music.
Yes, of course. And music is actually very good. It helps with math and the scale and just learning things, getting the pitch down and being able to hear the idiosyncrasies in music, as well as just the voice control. It has helped in knowing how to project sometimes, as well as having a lower demeanor.
But you're using that breath as your power, right?
I try, yes.
Why do you want to run for office? And is this the first time you're running for office?
This is the first.
And you're running as a Democrat?
Yes, I am.
And I'm reading your bio and I'm saying, some of this stuff looks a little conservative here. But you call yourself what?
I'm a centrist Democrat, yes. And
what does that mean?
It means I really try and find balance between the two parties. I'm not trying to be on a team. I'm trying to represent all of my constituents. I don't care getting about 50 plus 1. I want to represent 100%. And that means addressing everybody's interests.
You're on the east side. What communities
Yes.
are back there that you represent in Senate District 19?
Well, Senate District 19 goes from Tramway all the way to Klein's Corner. So it's a huge swath of land.
Is there much out there? Really? The Klein's, okay.
Edgewood, Moriarty, yep.
Edgewood, Moriarty.
Yes. We have Golden, New Mexico, Stanley, New Mexico.
Oh, you have all the neat places.
Yes.
And Terrace.
Yes.
Those are the nice places in New Mexico.
It's very beautiful in District 19, yes.
So why do you want to run? Or why do you want to be, you're running, why do you want to be state senator from District 19?
Well, the real reason I chose to run is because if you look around the nation, there's such extreme polarization. And, you know, I could sit and go, geez, the country is getting ripped apart, or I could do something to try and be a mending agent. And that is the real reason, the basic reason I wanted to run, is to form some kind of tie between everybody. And then it was like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? And then I found my positions and platforms. But the real reason is I want the country to come back together.
And you want to do your part instead of just sitting back and
Absolutely.
saying how horrible, which it is. It is out there.
Yes, it is.
I call it kind of scary, actually.
I agree.
Polarized, but you're doing something about it by running for office.
Yes.
How did you choose Senate?
It just kind of was a seat. I liked it. When I moved to New Mexico, I always loved the Cedar Crest and the other side of the mountain. And then when I was like looking at the seats and where I could fill in, it seemed like a good fit for me.
I have your list of things you want to work on, but let's start with that bringing, as a centrist Democrat, bringing both sides together. How are you going to do that?
Listening. That is the key portion. I see a lot of people, they try and lecture to the other side versus listening to the other side. As well as listening, there is this just taking into consideration their needs. You know, you don't have to cater to everybody's desires, but everybody has needs, and some of them are legitimate. Also, avoiding key words that are like they're polarizing and they show which team you're on. And this one I even get a lot of flack on my side. It's like, are you on our team? And the answer is, it's not a team sport. It's for the constituents of Senate District 19.
First time I've heard that.
Well, it's true. At least I believe it's true.
Listening is one thing, but both sides kind of want the power. And
Absolutely.
sometimes they're not going to listen to somebody because they want to retain what they have. That's tough.
It is.
What other skills can you bring to bring the sides together?
Well, I'd like to think that I've developed a lot of skills in the military. We've got a lot of varied people, and the big thing is learning to listen and scaling back your talk. That way your message get understood. So I see kind of my job to be a translator, in a way.
Mm-hmm. What else would you like to share about that? What do you hear from your constituents on the east side of the mountain? Harris, the other communities. Golden, you got Golden in there.
Golden is happy.
And-
they want to be, they want everything to stay as it is. It was kind of nice to hear, not complaints, and just like, we like it. We are our own small little community. Keep it as it is. So I can oblige them with
But
that.
what is going on in Edgewood?
Edgewood there is a big fight. It's being torn apart from people on the outside. It's not even Edgewood communities, but you've got a lot of not communities, but a lot of actors who are trying to use Edgewood, especially with the abortion drug. I'm gonna probably pronounce it wrong, methadone.
Oh, okay.
That they want to use Edgewood as a means to get it up to the Supreme Court, and just using Edgewood as a pawn. The people in Edgewood
Wait, they want Edgewood to disallow the drug, to allow the drug, which?
It got banned, which is against the New Mexico state law.
Banned in Edgewood.
You're right.
Okay, I wasn't.
Which didn't hold water because, New Mexico state law trumped it, but they wanted to bring it up to the Supreme Court, which is breaking up the community, which is actually a very fine community in of itself. So it's frustrating seeing these actors that aren't even part of the state coming into our small community and breaking it apart.
What could you do? What do you say? So what's your position as state senator? Do people ask you what that is?
This is the first time, honestly, and my position is very simple. We've got to maintain women's access to health, access to health for women, including reproductive health. And, there's a lot of women who are in life-threatening situations because their states are taking drastic measures. Our arms have to be open for them.
Now, Edgewood, I don't know Edgewood, but I imagine since it's going towards the east side of the state, it's a little bit more conservative then?
Oh,
So that's what these actors are coming in
yes,
saying?
there's a lot of conservatives
Okay.
in Senate District 19, and that's why I have to be centrist. But also with that, there's got to be some grounds. If a woman's life is in danger, she needs medical attention. We should not be getting involved in that and banning it like UBC in Texas. It just doesn't make sense.
What other issues are facing folks on the east side of the mountain that they're asking about your position?
I get to ask about water a lot. There's a lot of concern of water because water is getting drained, and we have to maintain our water in New Mexico and manage it well. I really do want to push more rainwater catchment because there's only so much water and we've got to use it intelligently.
No, that's against, I never understood that about rainwater catch. They don't want you to catch it because they want it to drain and go in the aquifers to be used again, but if you're catching it, you're using it as well.
No, there is nothing, even Bernalillo County will give you barrels for rainwater catchment. It's not so much the rainwater that gets into the water, it is snow. But even so, if you're using the water, it's a good thing. It conserves the water, and we won't use the groundwater nearly as much, which all the community is using out in the East Mountains.
What are the biggest issues that you see facing the state legislature?
The biggest issues I really see is polarization. Sorry, but New Mexico is one of the few closed primary states which engenders more polarization, as well as just the ballot access. You need specifically people in your party to sign on unless you run as an independent. A lot of New Mexico, the way it's geared up systematically, is to have a polarization.
So we are one of the few states that have the closed primaries?
Yes.
One of the few states. Okay, and I can see how that lends it because you just can vote on your ticket.
Yes.
What would you like, what do you, when you go door, do you go door to door?
I have, and I'm looking at doing it again.
Okay, well, you got a lot of doors open right now.
Yes.
What would you like to tell folks? In addition to your working on the polarization of our state, communities, our country, what else would you like to share about yourself and what you'd like to do?
Well, I'd like to focus on education. New Mexico is rated last at 50 out of 50 states, and our children deserve better. We've
heard that a lot, but what can be done? I mean,
Well,
and there's a lot of money from the oil and gas industry. I'm sorry, but there's...
There is. You know, it's the basics, you know, focusing on professionalization of the educators, making sure we retain good educators, and just getting the people having programs that they understand that they can be contributing members of society. And that will help us long term with the crime in our economy.
Crime, how big of an issue? Those of us over on the other side of the mountain, the west side, can't even recognize our community, it seems, anymore in Albuquerque. You're protected by the Sandias on the other side, or are you?
There's a fear of trickle over, but for most part, it's a very safe community. But I'll tell you one thing: when I came back to New Mexico, I didn't recognize Albuquerque. It's not the city I left 22 years ago. The homelessness and all the crime, it's quite atrocious. And I know we can get back to that beautiful city I knew 20, 30 years ago.
How do we do that?
One step at a time. We work with, like I said, we're working with education, getting the youth, and then trying to rehabilitate a lot of the people that are in this kind of cycle of crime. And part of it is just having rehabilitation programs, as well as working on housing for the homeless and mental health.
course, the housing, seems like we have a lot of housing. Seems like a lot of the homeless don't want to go into the housing we have. A lot of them tend to be street people who prefer to do drugs and alcohol on the streets rather than go into any housing that we might present to them.
One step at a time. I believe if people can actually see a better opportunity and a better way forward, they might take it. A lot of times, though, they're just stuck in this loss. They just feel they have no hope and they don't feel there's a better future. We've got to present a better future for them to
Oftentimes
take
it seems like a job giving people a purpose in life.
Yes.
Is it supporting themselves and their family is something very noble. And it kind of expected, but now we have to say it's noble because people perhaps are not doing it, but having the self-respect and the ability, the skills to take care of themselves is something they seem to need, but they can't have the skills unless they have a job waiting for them to give them that dignity back that they lost by depending on others and government to take care of them. So what's the job situation over on the east side?
We need more workers, honestly. More skilled labor. And that's where we can actually bridge the two gap, is if we can get these people to do skilled labors rather than saying people need to go to college, which, you know, if you're down in your luck, you're not going to get to college. But if you might be able to develop a skill that can do well for yourself and your family.
Do you see, is that a need on the east side?
Yes, absolutely.
Like what types of jobs they're not being filled?
You've got them, but there's a huge backlog of people, of wait time for you to get your job done. So, yeah, there's opportunity there.
I know a former Senator, Sue Wilson Beffert, was a representative, and she used to be a guest on this program quite a bit. She was very proud, I think, of the high school that you have over on the east side.
East Mountain High School.
East Mountain High School?
Yes.
Relatively new?
From what I understand, yes.
Turning out students, people who can be skilled with jobs?
Yes, I've heard good things about it. I have yet to inspect it. I hope if I get elected that I will have a chance to actually see the school and see what they have done for our community.
You're stay at home. Where is your 13-year-old going to school?
Right now, she is still in middle school down at Roosevelt Middle School in T. Harris, and we are looking at putting her in East Mountain High School.
High school, great. What else? We have a few minutes left that I haven't touched upon. William Burton Scott, other than having two first names?
I thought it was three.
Three first names. I like that candidate with the three first names. William Burton Scott.
Yes. So I just want to say thank you for having me and hearing me, and I look forward to making New Mexico a safer and more prosperous state.
You've got the energy to do it. Safer,
Yes.
prosperous. That's a lot to ask for. Not to ask for, to dream about. You said somewhere about you are an unaccomplished dreamer. What did you mean about that, accomplished?
Well, it's good
That
to
doesn't mean that you're not, wait, but that doesn't mean that you're not, that you are. What are you? Are you or aren't you?
You know,
An accomplished dreamer.
I used to say as a kid, it's okay to have your head in the clouds as long as your feet are firmly planted on the ground. So having high aspirations is, in my estimation, a merit. And that's what I do right now, and I want to do as a state senator, is have high aspiration for New Mexico, but face the realities of the challenges we have.
You know, if you were elected, there's a lot of money coming from the oil and gas industry, billions of dollars. There have been in the past couple of years, and it could continue because we're a very wealthy state. What would you like to see done with all of those millions? And they're taxpayer dollars. They're from the taxpayers that we're giving government. What would you like to see done with that money?
Work on the infrastructure. We've got a lot of dirt roads. We need more broadbands. There's a lot of places that have no cellular reception in New Mexico. If you go up in the East Mountains where it drops, or if you're hiking in the mountains, you can barely do an SOS call. I would like to see a lot of that kind of infrastructure come to New Mexico and enrich our state.
So on the east side And of course, we need the broadband for businesses to move into those areas.
Absolutely.
So there are places lacking in that.
Yes.
And the roads, how are the roads over on the east side? Good?
Well, most of them are dirt roads. The paved roads have been paved pretty well. We've gotten rid of the rumble strips that kept people awake at night. So they're improving.
We got rid of them? Or
On I-40, yeah, they've been paved over.
but don't we want them to keep people awake?
No, the rumble strips was right on the line, so people were running over them before they actually were needing them to wake up.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a mess, but they're getting removed and they're being put in the proper space.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm thinking, wow, those sound like they're good having rumble strip. And now people, I'm sure on the east side of the mountain, they want their dirt roads back there.
Sometimes they do, yes. But there are also places where they need to have actual roads, basically access for emergency services, where they don't have it. It could get flooded over in a storm, and if you live on the wrong side of the arroyo and you're having a heart attack, that's a bad day for you.
Very good. That's not a good day for us, is it?
No.
Vanderbilt University, you've got your master's and your undergraduate. Well, you were a Highland Hornet. Competitions, a lot of competitions, and then from fantastic. Well, thank you for being a part of the program. Thank you for also running nice young people, getting into office and making sure that our state carries on in a better tradition than it has in the past quite a few decades, because, you know, as they say, we're kind of at the bottom and we don't want to be there.
We can make it to the top.
We can make it to the top by working together. Thank you.
Absolutely.
William Burton Scott, thank you so much. He's running as a Democrat, centrist Democrat for District 19th, which is basically the east side of the mountain. Thanks for watching this program. We've invited the candidates. Those who accepted are being introduced to you. So we hope that you vote this coming election beforehand or day of, but not twice. Thanks again for watching. I'm Diane Kinderwater. Make it a great week with your family. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program or to purchase a copy of any Issues and Answers program, visit sunbroadcasting.org or call us at 505-345-1991.